Tiffany is 3 times as old as Stephanie. So Tiffany, 3 times old as Stephanie. 10 years ago, Tiffany was 5 times as old as Stephanie. How old is Tiffany now?
Okay, leave that question up just so I can make
Sure
sure.
thing.
So 3 times as old as Stephanie. And then 10 years ago, Tiffany was 5 times as old as Stephanie. All right, so leave that up so I can refer back to it and make sure that we're getting the right information. But okay, so we know that there are 2 people. If you go ahead to my screen, I'll show you how to solve this one. And I can actually show you 2 different ways how to solve this. So there's Tiffany and there is Stephanie. Either way, I'm going to do this algebraically. That's my favorite way to find anything that's unknown, is using algebra. That's what it's best for. So it said that Tiffany is 3 times as old as Stephanie. Now the problem is we don't know how old Stephanie is. So what we'll do is we can define Stephanie's age as X, since we don't know how old she is. We also, it said that Tiffany is 3 times as old as Stephanie. So since we didn't know how old Stephanie was, we can say how old Tiffany is in relation to Stephanie. So what we'll do is we'll call Tiffany 3 times X, or 3X, because she's 3 times as old as Stephanie is. Now, 10 years ago, Tiffany was 5 times as old as Stephanie, so we're going to use that information to write an equation. We can say 10 years ago, so to find out how old you are 10 years ago, you would have to take 10 years away from your age. So we're going to say Tiffany, so 3x minus 10, so this is Tiffany, 10 years ago. And then Stephanie, 10 years ago, would have been x minus 10. So this is Stephanie 10 years ago. Now, it said that Tiffany was 5 times as old as Stephanie. And so that means that if we took Stephanie's age and multiplied it by 5, or 5 times, it should equal Tiffany's age. So we can, with this equation, we can use this to solve for x, and if we solve for x, then we can find Tiffany's age and Stephanie's age. So the first thing that we'll do when we solve the equation is we're going to use the distributive property and distribute this 5 between the x and the negative 10. So rewriting the left side, 3x minus 10, and then the right side, it's 5 times x, which is 5x, and 5 times negative 10, which is negative 50. Then from here, we're going to isolate x, so I'm going to get x on one side by subtracting 3x from both sides. I'm left with negative 10 equals 2x minus 50. Then the next thing I'll do is I'm going to add 50 to both sides, again, to isolate x. When we do that, I have 40 on the left side and now 2x on the right. And then the last step to isolate x is to divide by 2, both sides of the equation. So then you end up having x equals 20. Now, we can't really stop there because we were asked a question of how old is Stephanie and how old is Tiffany. So with knowing that x is 20, that means that Stephanie is 20 years old. And that would mean that Tiffany is 3 times whatever Stephanie is. So 3 times 20 would give you the 60 years old. And so that's their age now. And the 2 things in the problem check out. The first one being that Tiffany is 3 times Stephanie's age. And then also 10 years ago, Tiffany was 5 times Stephanie's age. So what we could do is actually do 10 years ago. So Tiffany would be 50 10 years ago, and Stephanie would be 10 years ago, and 50 is 5 times that 10. So a couple ways to check your answer on this one. But yeah, so this is how you solve that. A lot of times those age problems tend to be, you can set up some kind of algebraic equation in order to solve for it. The first thing that you would always want to do is define your variables. So decide what each variable is going to be in that problem. So that's just one way to do it. There are definitely more ways to solve it, as with a lot of math things, but hopefully that helped.